we're getting deeper because we're looking at the advantages of using this word expressive, whether we call it expressive method or expressive system or expressive way is beside the point. We are concentrating on the importance and the advantages that we would have in using this word expression. First of all, the very fact that we are using a term, a word, we are actually using a metaphor. The biggest advantage is that we have invested the positive aspects of the preventive system with a name and one that is easy to remember. This means a whole new world of communication opening up for us, a whole new world of research opening up for us. The name or metaphor is the key to let you enter into the discourse, enlarge the discourse, enrich the discourse to the point of making it a part of our cultural heritage as Salesian family, Salesian collaborators. If this is difficult for you to imagine, here's a puzzle. Are you able to think about things you don't have words for? Or do you lack words for them because you have never thought about those things? Just give it a thought. I am going to now use the example of what we are actually experiencing at this moment. Did you talk about Don Bosco's expressive education before Father Francis shared the idea with you, or before you read the article, or before you heard someone talk about it? No. So you don't talk about what you don't have as a language, as part of your language, the word, the metaphor. Or did you lack the knowledge of expressive education because you did not think of it or think of these expressions, simply because you did not meet Father Gustilo? Now, why is a metaphor so important? Okay, we need to understand this here. Here's an example to show you the importance of a metaphor, importance of introducing a new name. Well, people in Europe have few standard names for relatives. People from South Asia have developed special names for every single member of the larger family. And we have someone who speaks this language in your midst. It's Father Gaikwad. So I have to be careful now because he could point out some mistakes. So in English, what is the brother of the mother called?
Uncle.
The brother of your mother, okay, is uncle, right? But in Marathi, there's a word, mama, which is not mummy, by the way, or mother. Mama is uncle in Marathi. Brother of the father is uncle. But in Marathi, it is chulta. Sister of the mother is auntie, maushi. Sister of the father is auntie, atya. Now, when you're talking of your cousins, just look at this. Cousins, 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 cousins. Brother, brother, sister, sister. Instead, we have son of the maternal uncle, mame bau, son of the paternal uncle, sulad bau. Bau means brother, okay? Son of the maternal, we're all talking of sons here. Son of the maternal aunt, maus bau, and son of the maternal aunt, ate bau. The individualism of Western societies, where family bonds hardly extend beyond the parent-child unit, contrast starkly with this culture, which we have just explained, the Marathi South Asian culture, where each member is identified by a specific name so that everyone knows his or her place in the wider family unit or family chain. Now, why is this important? Because it is necessary because the celebration of a family event involves the cooperation of all members. Basically, therefore, when somebody is marrying a South Asian person, he is marrying or she is marrying a family. So get ready to spend a lot of money there. This is necessary because the celebration of a family event involves the cooperation of all members, with each having the privilege of performing a different role in important family events like initiation rites, marriages, funerals, etc. The culture is dynamic and participatory as family identities shape the discourse and vice versa. What a difference from uncle, auntie, cousin, brother, cousin, sister. So the reality shapes our language. I heard about this expressive system today. And the language shapes the way we think about reality. It makes me reflect about the positive side of the preventive system. And without realizing it, the way we think becomes our normalized reality. A year later, you will say, it's normal. The word expression, we have been using it for 1 year. So it's nothing new. So we think in the language we speak. So reality creates the discourse, the word, which helps us to discuss, and the discussion helps us think and creates the new reality, which we get normal and we are normalized about. I'm going to the next point, education psychology. So thanks to the fact that we have a name now and a metaphor, we can go deeper. We can go deeper using, for example, educational psychology to explain Don Bosco's insights, intuitions, and give them a real stable base through the research of the psychologists. Let's take Maslow, for instance. At the base of the pyramid, this is the famous, I'm sure we all know about this. At the base of the pyramid, we have the physiological and safety needs, the body, which sustain the belonging and esteem needs in the middle, the mind, which in turn sustain the aesthetic and self-actualization needs at the peak. Now, if the binomial of Don Bosco's method is viewed from a chronological perspective, we will understand why reaching a desired level of self-actualization for young people would first depend on having their basic physiological and psychological needs fulfilled. You cannot have self-actualization if the person has physical problems and psychological problems. He doesn't feel safe, he doesn't feel secure, he doesn't feel wanted. He has an inferiority feeling about himself because of negativities that have been poured down on him, etc. So you need this strong base first to be able to reach that. And that's what Don Bosco did. The first thing he did, he would make them feel at home, give them a plate of food to eat, okay, and then gradually ask them whether they wanted to be part of the oratory, and then gradually give them the tremendous skill opportunities, the skill building opportunities, the capacity building opportunities through his many workshops, including elocution, theater, band, music, etc. When you think in terms of the Salesian educational system in this light, it is amazing and is wonderful to see. Okay. Yet self-actualization is a state of integration of all our needs and agencies, body, mind, and spirit. The power of self-actualization in Maslow's theory is not just the little cherry on the cake. This is like a cake and a nice cherry. It is a dynamic drive that is always present in the individual right from the bottom. Self-actualization involves positive growth that gives life shape and meaning to the whole person. This includes the development of spirituality, which is highly personal and different from each individual. It is becoming the best God has called me to be. Thus, prevention that is absolutely necessary for the growth of a child has to yield to expression that enables the child to grow despite the vicissitudes of life, the ups and downs of life, from within to reach the pinnacle of mature adulthood. The best way to prevent repression is through expression. I will not go into another educationalist, and two of them, who are uh, telling us how important it is to have the presence of the educator by the side of the youngster who's learning, because it is the learning process from what he can do to what he cannot do to what he is capable of doing in the future. Okay, this is other two. And then this is the last one, which is so beautiful among the educational psychologists. You have Gardner, who comes up with the research and the theory to say, hey, everybody has been measured in the past on one basis, the intellectual quotient, which was basically about reasoning, solving problems, and memory. That is it. So all those who had these qualities were intelligent, and you would have them 100% intelligent, 80% intelligent, etc., etc. But he says, no, the human being is made in a different way. Each of us have capacities that others do not have. And therefore you have the naturalist who loves animals and plants and nature, etc. He becomes a biologist, for instance, or a linguist who excels in words and languages and poetry, or a visual person who remembers the notes that he has learned for the exam, not by the words, but by the position that they have on the page of his notebook. So a visual spatial person there, who is a designer, a kinesthetic, the one who has body movements, athletics, musical talents, interpersonal relationships, people who want to work with people, want to do social work, for example, are people who reach out to others, interpersonal strengths, the core of their lives. Intrapersonal, people who can get into thought processes and actually come out with articles that are philosophical, etc. Logical, bankers, accountants, etc. You can see how career guidance can be used to help young people, basing oneself only on Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences. Now, I talk about the DB way. Why are we coming up with this DB way? What is DB way? The DB way of educating for a happy life is arguably the first attempt at elaborating Don Bosco's preventive system with the aim of reaching educators who come from multi-religious and non-Christian contexts. We have always talked about, things in a language. Look how language affects us. We have been closed in our language of the Catholic Church. I'm not against that. But when you have 60% of your teachers, 70% of your teachers, as we have in India, coming from non-Catholic and non-Christian backgrounds, given the numbers here, how can we continue to say honest citizens and good Christians? They are tolerating it. If there are Hindu teachers, for example, or Muslim teachers in the group that we are talking to, they tolerate it, they accept it because they are getting paid from a Catholic school. So they don't mind. But why not reach out beyond them to be able to embrace even their religious beliefs? And therefore, there are changes that are very important to make. First of all, we call it DB way. And we don't call it preventive system or preventive method, etc. We don't want to get into that problem. So it's Don Bosco's way of educating people, young people, for a happy life. That's the full title, if you like to say. The second point is, in English-speaking countries, to use the word preventive system is to almost say, listen, don't do this, don't do that. A system that kind of is so worried about you being harmed that your mother and father constantly tell you, please don't go out, don't cross the road, be careful of the, etc. So every child grows through the care of and love of the parents, but the parents have to, at one point in their lives, say, my son, fly. Fly away, be yourself, be the best you can be. And that is actually Francis de Sales. Be the person you are meant to be and be that well. The slogan, honest citizen and good Christians, as you will understand, would have to be changed to, what do we use? Honest citizen and true believers. What do we mean by believers? The golden rule. The fundamental basis of being human is the golden rule. treat others as you would like them to treat you. If only we can practice this, my dear friend, there would not be any war. There would not be pain and jealousy and aggression. And therefore, non-violence is the basis of this. And of course, reason and rapport or loving kindness. And these are what we would mean by true believers. We do not mean by true believers fanatics, people who are ready to kill for an idea that they want everybody else to have. We have to be very careful when we are trying to define what we mean by true believers. It goes together with honest citizenship. In the words of Edward Seguin, who worked with children, and this is, we're going back to the 80s, what is called encouragement, simple thing like encouragement, comfort, love, respect. These are levers of the human soul. And the more people work in this direction, the more they renew and reinvigorate life within them and around them. So the best way to diminish someone's weakness is to invest in strengthening their strengths. To diminish your weakness, to weaken your weakness and strengthen your strengths. Is it not time to shift from the all-embracing concept of prevention to expression and not just prevention? Or perhaps to admit that the best way to prevent repression is expression? That's my dream, that all of us embrace expression, not leaving aside prevention, but subsuming it as part of the one very beautiful heritage that we have. And it's not just ours, it's the patrimony of humanity, namely Don Bosco's preventive-expressive method of education. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. I knew that we would have a tremendous clarification and light into what Father Peter Gonsalves has written. Remember, this is 2009, something like 13 years ago. And so therefore, and he said, I'm surprised, Peter, that I'm the first one to ask you to give something about this. And you're addressing it to the EAO region. Yours is the South Asia region with Sri Lanka, India with Sri Lanka, and you are here with the Asian region. Practically, you're expressing it to the Asians. Therefore, I'd like to give the floor to those who have heard. You can now unmute yourself, or you can put your clarifications, questions. But you're right, very much right. That's my first reaction. Is my insight is that when you always say prevention, it could have an understanding of preventing what is negative. But if you speak about expression, it's drawing out what is positive. It looks into the opportunities and the potentials. Definitely, you know the threats. You know what is wrong, and the weaknesses for that matter. But as Don Bosco say, while you teach the ugliness of sin, you show them the beauty of virtue, right?
Thank you, Francis. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to share about this?
Just put your mic on. Anybody who wants to speak, just start speaking. Come on.
There is a chat in the chat, Peter. You could read it.
Is it a nominal change from calling it and a system to expressive system? I believe that with the change of name comes the change of focus and perspective. You're absolutely right, Father Marco. That's what we are talking of when we are talking about a metaphor, a language that starts changing the way we think. So when I talked about the family relationships in South Asia and the West, you are not just talking about customs. You're talking about the way people are thinking about themselves, the opinion that they have about each other, which is very close-knit and very different from the West, which is very individualistic. So thinking needs words. And words create thinking. It is not just a nominal change. It is a very, shall I say, epistemological change. It's deeper, it's much deeper.
Father Nguyen, Joseph Yes, Father.
Okay, thanks for your intuition. I like it, that insight, because it's very balanced. It's a talk about the negative and positive points. We cannot emphasize only one dimension, negative or positive, but we need to emphasize both, and it's very balanced.
Thank you. Thank you. The problem is that the positive side didn't have a name. So that is the contribution now. Once you have a name, you can now start speaking about it. You can go deeper into it. So we've been speaking about the negative aspects, Now it's time to look at it, the negative, but also in view of the positive, because the goal is self-actualization, is positive. Nobody defines a movement by the fact of where it's coming from in terms of where it is leaving from, but rather where it is going to. So the goal defines the validity of a particular movement, organization. We talk of mission and vision, etc., etc. It's because it's the positive that is what we want to reach. So the definitions in terms of the mission statement, it's always on the positive side. So therefore, even if you say the expressive system of Don Bosco, you're perfectly right according to this logic, because the expressive system contains the preventive. But if you say only it's the preventive system and preventive system, you are not making a reference to the growth that is taking place, which is the more important aspect. Then there's something missing. Imagine, just to give you an example, imagine if a child is grown in a house where all that the parents keep telling him as what he should do and what he should not do, without really looking into what are you capable of doing? In what way are you contributing to the family with your being, with the talents that you have? Why don't we encourage that? Why don't we encourage you? See, encouragement, love. Sometimes love is so stifling in some of our families. We are killing the talents of our children. But when we start recognizing in them God's gift to them, God's gift to us, let's say if I'm a parent, I will begin to try to find out in what way my child loves being happy or is happy.
There's Father Paul Kang. Yes, Father, from Korea.
Yeah, hello, Father. Thank you for sharing your. I would like to express my thoughts to you very carefully. First, I wondered if we really need to replace our own expression, the preventive system, to the new one. The word expression education can highlight and reveal the positive aspects of preventive system. But in my opinion, the soteriology or spiritual aspect of the preventive system may not be revealed. Don Bosco emphasized the word prevention, as we have learned. That time was a time era when the concept of prevention was emphasized. However, Don Bosco included the concept of prevention as a spiritual and soteriology.
Yes.
So in my opinion, prevention is not just an educational term. Prevention system goes beyond education, I think, as an expression to protect and protect young people, young souls from the environment of sin and evil. So I still believe that the term prevention system is a rich, meaningful for all of us beyond borders and cultures.
Yes, Paul, you put a very beautiful question
Yeah.
to me. I'm happy that you've done it, because I don't want y'all to go back saying that I do not accept the preventive system. Okay, this is not what I'm saying. I believe fully in the preventive system, and it is absolutely important, as we looked at the pyramid of Maslow. It's there, the bottom, that is the base that is taking shape and then extending into the expressive system. Now, the soteriological aspect, the saving factor, is from sin, the problem of sin, the problem of us being human and frail. But simply thinking about that, we do not enter into the resurrected Lord, the joy of the resurrection. And Don Bosco, don't forget, had also this dimension in his time. For example, there are moments that he chose which were joyful moments of the resurrection. For example, it seems he inaugurated the new Bernardi shed precisely on the day of the resurrection, on Easter Sunday. If you go to the Bernardi shed in Turin, the picture of Jesus resurrected is near the altar, is behind the altar. So we have not sufficiently stressed that. First of all, we are dealing with young people, and therefore talking also is a word, also about the resurrection is so very, very important. So therefore, I would not force anybody to say, throw out preventive system and bring in only expressive system. No, what I would not like you to do is don't use only prevention. You come to the class and you tell the teachers, and you're going to speak about the preventive system, is doing a disservice to Don Bosco himself, because it is more than just prevention. Now that we have a name, we can use this particular name to explain the balance of prevention and expression as the one method of education of Don Bosco. I hope you got my point. Yeah.
Father Rooney, yes?
Thank you, Father Peter. I am following your DB way. Usually I used to get some materials there, and it's very beautiful, no?
I see.
Father, I'm thinking right now, just a reflection because of the preventive system. Now the main goal is really not to limit ourselves there, but that goal that our young people will be able to express themselves. No? I'm just thinking about that saying of the run, jump, shout, no, laugh, no, but never sin. Because right now, as you have said, you have been quoting also learning theories like Vygotsky, and people have been also promoting that positive discipline and design thinking process. So I'm thinking also of that expressive system in which our preventive system is making somehow a relevance to the new educational ecosystem right now, because we are following the remote learning. No? So I would see that this expressive system, that right now we have a difficulty to get in touch with the young people in the online. It's really more on putting the new design thinking process on how we put this preventive system as a relevant means for them to be able to express themselves with these limitations that we don't see them now with the pandemic reality. I don't know if I will be right on putting those names that if we we stop only on the preventive system, at times it's also dangerous because it can be a transactional way of dealing with our educational system. But if we entertain also some names like expressive, I was touched when you said that our system should be gearing towards the growth of the human person. And somehow this expressive is putting that balance that our preventive system must be something that is transformational.
Very true. Very true. Very true. And you said it, so I don't have to repeat it. Yeah. Testing
Beautiful.
transformational in view of becoming the best we can be. Yeah.
Okay. Remember that we started to reflect in the context. I gave them the contextualization, as I said, from the time of Father Bride's writing. But my aim in this afternoon is, what is the relevance today of this system of education of St. John Bosco? This is a model, I mean, this is an example of a confer wanting to know, in our current world, in a communicative age, what is the role of a good metaphor, a good word that would express, articulate the method, the pedagogical intuition of Don Bosco, precisely because we are in an age of the young that wants to discover, develop, create, and this is precisely the world of the children. And you don't see them anymore watching movies, but we see them making movies. Or if they have a movie, they interact with the video games. And so that interactivity is what develops these young people. They want development. And is our system of education relevant to this kind of young people, of the so-called millennials, no? Of this third millennium? Yeah, that's an aim of what we're trying to do, Peter. And I saw your work to be very, very relevant to our topic.
Thank you.